yourself, and you're still tuned in to your Ramadan companion, which is us here at Salam Media. And now we'll be speaking tourism. It's a long weekend. A lot of people are traveling, various adventures across the country. I think you can go anywhere this weekend and you'll find a host of South Africans and their families and friends doing all kinds of activities. And joining us right now is going to be Tasneem Carrim. She's coming from the Department of Tourism. She's the Chief Director of Communications and also the spokesperson. She'll be chatting to us a bit more about the hashtag Do Tourism Safely and Responsibly campaign this Easter holiday. Tasneem, welcome to Salam Media and thank you so much for joining us.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.
Hashtag Do Tourism Safely. What was behind this campaign? What inspired it? What actions did you see and notice that, we need to send this message out as passionately as we can for South Africans to know and understand, what steps to take so that they enjoy their Easter holidays, their long weekend in a safe and responsible manner.
Thank you so much. So the Department of Tourism works with the private sector and with law enforcement authorities to constantly reduce the risk for tourists, both local and international. And we have been gathering data about what has been happening to tourists. So this campaign has been inspired by our findings from the Tourism Complaints Office, but also and more specifically, in December, we had some incidents where a number of people who were traveling for Umrah got scammed by fraudsters who took their money and ran away. We also had some incidents of tourists, international tourists visiting the country, and those people were in one way or another had their safety, their physical safety affected. So as the Department of Tourism, what we've done is we have a campaign where we have put tips on our website at tourism.gov.za, as well as on social media, where we are just providing tips for holiday makers, both local for the Easter holidays, as well as those who are starting to make their bookings for Hajj, so that they can be warned of the kind of things that they should be on the lookout for.
You touch a bit on the Easter holidays, and I want us also to touch a bit on those that are making their Hajj. What are some of the tips, especially for the long weekend? We have a lot of people traveling internally in the country. Some are doing it for religious purposes, others is just for leisure. What are the core fundamental things that people that are traveling internally must look out for when they make their way to various destinations across the country?
Well, let's talk firstly about safety on the road. You may know that they're expecting 1 million cars on the road this Easter, and we all know that there's a pilgrimage that takes place towards Limpopo for the Easter holidays. And, we also tend to have the highest number of road accidents. So we provide some basic tips to remind people how to keep personally safe, like, for example, avoid driving at night, especially in areas that are not well lit. Make sure you inform your residents where you are arriving of your arrival time and keep them updated. Keep your car doors and your boot locked and keep your valuables out of sight in your boot. Make sure that you are aware of remote jamming, so make sure that your doors are securely locked. One big thing is to stay alert. Many drivers fall asleep on the road, especially when there's some kind of a traffic backlog. So many drivers fall asleep. So if you feel sleepy, stop at a well-lit roadside petrol station and swap drivers. And also in South Africa, we have unique conditions. So, best to look out for pedestrians, livestock, traffic lights that may not be working. And if you're in a reserve, then the wildlife, look out for wildlife, things like that. So we've put some tips out for both local and international travelers on that front.
Mm, mm. I think the most concerning one for people that are traveling internally. I mean, we saw on the news recently about some of the tourists and what they've went through with regards to being attacked and being robbed of their belongings. Is safety. It is the number one feature. And I just want to know, is there a way for travelers especially those that are coming from abroad to kind of know which areas are safe for them to go to, which areas are not safe. Does the Department of Tourism have that portal that can make sure that tourists know which areas are high risks and which ones are safe to go to, for tourists that might not be as familiar with South Africa as locals would be.
Well, look, that situation does remain fluid. We had the incident, where a tourist used Google Maps and had to drive through a particularly dangerous part of a township. And, so we're working on that together with Google and together with the private sector. So there isn't any comprehensive hotspot area that we identify. But what we do have, there is an app that has been developed by the industry, which we advise tourists to download. It's called Secura Traveler, and it's an app that we do advise them to download. There's also a tourist emergency WhatsApp line, which is on our website, and its number is 082 321 6018. And then there's also another center, which is a monitoring center. It's a phone version of the app. It's called the E2 National Monitoring Control Center Hotline. And that one's the number is also on our website. Just for those who have a pen ready, its number is 083 318 2475.
Mm, mm. And I also see that there's a tourist emergency WhatsApp line that you guys have. If someone would contact this tourism emergency WhatsApp line, what kind of help would they get? What kind of services does it offer, and for what circumstances does it cater for?
So, as I said, we work together with the private sector, tour operators, travel agencies, associations, and the law enforcement authorities. We also have tourism monitors that have been trained in every province. And as soon as we get news of an incident that has happened, then a tourism monitor is dispatched to assist the tourist. Maybe their passports were stolen. They need to get to an embassy. They need to get to a police station to report. They need to get to a medical center. So the tourism monitor helps guide that tourist and just stays with them so that they don't feel alone. So that's what we do to respond. And of course, the reason for this campaign is we want to try and reduce the risk of that happening. And that's why we're providing the tips as well, so that tourists can, both local and international, can just also make sure that they remain safe. And in order to do so, they must take some responsibility as well so that they can have a brilliant holiday.
Mm. Mm. And we mentioned also, Hajj and Umrah season is upon us. A lot of people will be making, their way to Mecca, soon. What kind of tips do you have for them? For those that will be traveling, to Saudi Arabia. You mentioned at the beginning of the interview that you had instances of people being, scammed and being, scammed of their monies and not eventually finding themselves not traveling. What tips would you have for those that are traveling, for Umrah and Hajj later on?
Thank you so much for asking that question, Salilo. Because we really want to spread the message on this front. At this time, people are starting to make their bookings, and we want them to be aware. So, the first rule of thumb is to be cautious of deals that seem too good to be true. It's if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So you should compare the deals that you are being offered for accommodation and flights to other prices. If it seems too low, check it out, ask around, check reviews. Not everybody has access to the internet, but certainly you can ask around. If you know people that have used this service provider before, it helps to reduce the risk. Secondly, read and understand the terms and conditions very well before you make the booking. And also make sure you receive written quotation. When you get your quotation, check your quote for the following. Check it if there's a premises of the supplier. Check if there's a landline number. Check if the company is a registered company. Check if they are a member of a tourism association like SATSA or ASATA. Not everyone is a member of a tourism association, but all these things together, if you check all of them, something may help to reduce the risk of going with an unscrupulous tour operator or travel agent. Also, there's nothing wrong with verifying your bookings with the airline or with accommodation before you leave, and also the one thing that we do find is that for one reason or another, people are asked to share their banking details when making a booking. You shouldn't be asked to share your banking details. Also, there's another way that you can also check. There are sometimes at this time of the year, you'll find a lot of fake websites coming up because people are trying to trick consumers into making false bookings. So check the company's marketing materials, check their websites. If you see the pictures look fuzzy, the logos look fuzzy, it looks like someone's taken a picture of another logo, it's a red flag. If the links don't work, so you click on something and the link doesn't work, that's another red flag for you to just check it out carefully and make sure that the person who is offering to make your booking is who they say they are and has really made your booking. As I said before, none of these are foolproof. But if you do all of these things, you should be able to reduce the risk of being scammed by a fraudster.
Mm. All right. I think we're going to leave it there, Tasneem. Thank you so much for giving us your time and giving those valuable tips. I'm pretty sure, they were really helpful, especially, to our listeners that are looking to make, their Umrah and Hajj. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll chat again.
Thank you.
There we go. That was Tasneem Carrim there. She's the Chief Director of Communication and Spokesperson at the Department of Tourism. Just shedding light there about how holiday makers and travelers can make, their long weekend, a one that is filled with joy and not despair. They're not robbed of their belongings. They're doing traveling safely and doing tourism safely. She also gave some valuable tips. If you missed that, I think you can go back to this video. It'll be on all of our social media platforms. She gave tips to those that are looking to make their way, to Mecca for Hajj and for Umrah, to do it safely. She mentioned all kinds of tips, from, making sure that, the travel agency that's helping you with your bookings and everything is a legit one. Are they registered with the various, organizations that, travel agencies are registered with? She also gave tips about, their websites, some things that you should be looking for. And also because at the end of the day, the onus is on you as a traveler, to make sure, that your bookings have been made, your arrangements, your accommodation arrangements have been made. So I think it was a really, really insightful interview there with Tasneem Carrim from the the Department of Tourism. She's the Chief Director of Communication and Spokesperson. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be looking into Gaza, our hashtag Gaza in numbers update. We'll be giving you an update on the casualties and the infrastructure destruction and migration patterns coming out of Gaza. More after this, and yeah, we'll link up after the break.